Welcome to the National Museum of Western Art in Tokyo, Japan, a place where the timeless beauty of European art meets the heart of Japanese culture. In this video, we'll explore its history, architecture, and the treasures that make it one of the most inspiring museums in Asia. The National Museum of Western Art is located in the heart of Ueno Park, one of Tokyo's most beloved cultural and historical districts. Ueno Park is not just a green space, it's a symbol of art, education, and tradition that stretches back to the Edo period. As you walk through the park, you're surrounded by tall trees, peaceful ponds, and pathways lined with cherry blossoms that bloom spectacularly in spring. The museum sits gracefully among other major cultural landmarks, including the Tokyo National Museum, Ueno Zoo, and the Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum. Together, they form one of the most concentrated centers of art and history in all of Japan. The museum's location was chosen carefully, away from the noise and rush of central Tokyo, yet still in the heart of the city. It offers visitors a moment of calm and reflection. The atmosphere changes with every season: cherry blossoms in spring, lush greenery in summer, colorful leaves in autumn, and quiet snow in winter. Each visit feels new and inspiring. Getting to the museum is easy. It's just a few minutes' walk from Ueno Station, one of Tokyo's main train hubs. From there, visitors can follow signs through the park, passing serene walkways and sculptures that hint at the artistic treasures waiting inside. Standing at the entrance, the museum's clean, geometric design by Le Corbusier contrasts beautifully with the organic shapes of the park around it. It's as if the building itself is in conversation with nature, a dialogue between modern art and timeless landscape. This perfect balance between urban convenience and natural beauty makes the National Museum of Western Art not only a place to see great works of art, but also a peaceful destination to experience Tokyo's harmony between tradition, culture, and innovation. The story of the National Museum of Western Art begins not in Tokyo, but in early 20th century Europe with a visionary Japanese industrialist named Kojiro Matsukata, who served as president of the Kawasaki Dockyard Company. Was a man deeply fascinated by the culture, art, and innovation of the West. During his travels to Europe, especially France and England, he developed a strong admiration for Western art and its power to inspire and educate. Between 1916 and 1927, Matsukata began collecting European masterpieces with a single dream: to build a museum in Japan that would bring the beauty and techniques of Western art to the Japanese people. He believed that exposure to great works of art could broaden minds and connect Japan to the world. Over time, he built what became known as the Matsukata Collection, one of the most remarkable private art collections of its era. His collection included paintings, sculptures, and prints by legendary artists such as Claude Monet, Auguste Rodin, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Vincent van Gogh, Paul Cézanne, and Pablo Picasso. These works represented some of the most influential movements in Western art, from Impressionism to Post-Impressionism and beyond. However, history took an unexpected turn. During the Great Depression and the Second World War, much of Matsukata's collection, which had been stored in France, was seized or lost. After the war, the French government retained a significant portion of it as property under its control. For years, these works were kept in French museums, their fate uncertain. But in the 1950s, a gesture of peace and friendship changed everything. In 1959, as Japan rebuilt itself after the war, the French government decided to return a large part of the Matsukata collection to Japan, as a symbol of goodwill and cultural exchange. This historic act marked a new chapter in the relationship between the two nations, one built not on politics, but on art, respect, and shared humanity. To house these returned treasures, the National Museum of Western Art was established in Tokyo. The Japanese government wanted a building worthy of the collection, one that would represent international cooperation and the spirit of artistic unity. They invited the world-renowned French architect, Le Corbusier, a pioneer of modern architecture, to design it. Le Corbusier accepted the invitation, seeing it as an opportunity to create a pure expression of modernist design in Japan. His concept was simple yet profound: a museum that would grow like a living organism, expanding as new artworks were added over time. The result was a masterpiece of concrete geometry and light, a perfect home for Western art in an Eastern setting. When the museum finally opened its doors in 1959, it became an instant symbol of cultural connection between East and West. Visitors from around the world came to see not only the artworks but also the building itself, a structure that reflected the ideals of modern design and human creativity. Over the decades, the museum continued to grow. It added new wings, hosted major international exhibitions, and became a hub for art education and research. In 2016, the building was officially recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, along with other Le Corbusier works across the globe. This recognition solidified its place not only in art history but also in architectural history. Today, the National Museum of Western Art stands as a living symbol of Matsukata's dream: a dream that began with one man's passion for art and became a lasting bridge between Japan and the world. Every visitor who walks through its halls continues that story, discovering beauty, understanding culture, and feeling the timeless connection that art creates across nations and generations. The National Museum of Western Art is not just a building, it is a masterpiece of modern architecture. Created by one of the most influential architects of the 20th century, Le Corbusier, his vision transformed concrete and light into a language of harmony, balance, and timeless beauty. When Le Corbusier was invited by the Japanese government in the 1950s, he saw the opportunity to bring his architectural philosophy to Asia for the first time. He imagined a museum that would represent the unity of all cultures, a place where people could experience art not as outsiders, but as participants in a universal conversation. His design followed his famous concept of the Museum of Unlimited Growth. According to this idea, a museum should not be a fixed monument, but a living structure, one that can expand naturally. Just like a tree grows, adapting to new collections and new generations. The layout was based on a spiral progression, leading visitors upward and inward, symbolizing a journey of discovery through time and art. From the outside, the museum may appear simple, a rectangular, concrete form, standing quietly amid the trees of Ueno Park. But every element has meaning. The rough textured concrete, known as Betonbrut, was left unfinished to reveal the material's natural strength and honesty. The columns lift the structure slightly above the ground, creating a sense of lightness and respect for the earth below. As visitors step inside, they are greeted by a grand, open main hall, illuminated by soft, filtered light from skylights above. Le Corbusier designed the lighting carefully so that natural sunlight gently touches the artworks without overpowering them. The shifting play of light throughout the day creates a living, breathing space, one that changes as time passes. Just like art itself, the interior layout is equally thoughtful. Le Corbusier arranged the galleries in a sequence that guides visitors through different periods of Western art, from the Renaissance to Impressionism and beyond. Each room feels connected to the next, forming a continuous flow rather than a series of separate exhibits. The paths, the proportions, and even the colors were chosen to evoke calmness, focus, and emotional connection. Supporting Le Corbusier were three Japanese architects, Kunio Junzo Sakakura and Takamasa Yoshizaka, all of whom had studied under him in Paris. Together, they adapted his modernist ideas to Japan's climate and culture, ensuring the building would breathe naturally in the changing seasons and harmonize with the surrounding park. The result is a perfect blend of Western modernism and Japanese sensibility, a structure that feels global yet deeply local. It stands as a physical representation of friendship, cooperation, and artistic unity between nations. The museum's architectural details, from its long ramp-like stairways to the rhythm of its pillars, reflect Le Corbusier's belief that architecture should serve both the mind and the spirit. It should make people feel uplifted, inspired, and alive. Over the decades, the building has remained remarkably true to its original form. It continues to stand as a monument to modern architecture and was officially recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2016, along with 16 other works by Le Corbusier around the world. Standing before it today, you can feel its quiet power, not shouting for attention, but inviting reflection. It's more than a museum. It's a temple of light and space, where art and architecture meet to tell a story of human creativity that transcends borders, cultures, and time itself. The layout of the National Museum of Western Art is one of its most fascinating and distinctive features. It is not designed merely for displaying art, it is designed to guide the visitor on a journey, both physical and emotional. Every corridor, every turn, every source of light was carefully considered by Le Corbusier to shape how people experience the art within. At the heart of the design is Le Corbusier's concept of the promenade the architectural promenade. This idea means that a building should be experienced as a sequence of discoveries, where movement through space creates a story. In this museum, the visitor's journey begins at ground level, in a low, shaded entrance area, and gradually ascends through open, light-filled galleries, much like moving from darkness into enlightenment. When you step inside, you immediately enter the main hall, a spacious atrium illuminated by soft daylight filtering through skylights above. The light feels natural and gentle, creating a calm, contemplative mood. The walls are neutral and textured, ensuring that nothing distracts from the artworks themselves. Here, the sense of openness gives visitors the freedom to move, look, and reflect. It is a space designed for peace and focus. From this central hall, pathways lead outward into the gallery rooms, which are arranged in a carefully structured pattern. The first galleries introduce earlier European art, the Renaissance and Baroque periods, filled with classical paintings and religious themes. As visitors move deeper into the museum, the artworks progress through time, reflecting the evolution of Western art, from realism to Impressionism and Modernism. Le Corbusier intended for this layout to mirror the growth of human creativity. The floor plan is modular, based on geometric forms and proportions that correspond to his famous design system. The modular, this system was developed to harmonize architecture with the human body, ensuring that every space feels balanced, comfortable, and natural. The circulation path is fluid, with ramps and stairways connecting levels seamlessly. Visitors don't feel forced in one direction. Instead, they are subtly guided by the architecture itself. The spaces are neither too large nor too confined. They maintain a rhythm that matches the emotional energy of the artworks displayed. One of the most remarkable aspects of the layout is how light interacts with space. Le Corbusier used natural light as a living element. Throughout the day, sunlight shifts across the rooms, casting delicate patterns on the walls and sculptures. This ever-changing illumination creates a sense of life and movement, allowing each artwork to appear slightly different at every moment. The museum was also designed to grow. Le Corbusier envisioned that new wings could be added around the central core, a literal expression of his museum of unlimited growth concept. True to this vision, later, Japanese architects expanded the building with additional exhibition spaces, research areas, and facilities. While preserving the purity of Le Corbusier's original design, even the outdoor areas are part of the layout's harmony. The open-air sculpture garden flows naturally from the interior galleries, allowing visitors to step outside and see great works under the open sky. This transition from inside to outside reflects the architect's belief that art should not be confined, it should live and breathe in harmony with nature. Overall, the building's layout is a work of art in itself, a carefully choreographed experience where light, space, and movement unite to create emotional depth. It's a journey that mirrors the human experience of discovery, starting from curiosity, moving through understanding, and ending in inspiration. Inside the National Museum of Western Art, architecture and art are inseparable. Every step you take, every turn of the corridor, is a continuation of the story, a dialogue between form, function, and feeling that reminds us that beauty lies not only in the paintings on the wall, but also in the spaces that surround them. At the very heart of the National Museum of Western Art lies its most precious treasure, the Matsukata Collection. This collection is the foundation upon which the museum was built, and it tells a powerful story of passion, vision, and international friendship. The Matsukata Collection was the life's work of Kojiro Matsukata, a pioneering Japanese businessman and art lover. Born in 1865, Matsukata was not only a successful industrialist, but also a man deeply inspired by Western culture and ideas. During the early 1900s, when Japan was rapidly modernizing, Matsukata believed that understanding Western art would help Japanese people appreciate global creativity and expand their cultural horizons. Between 1916 and 1927, he traveled across Europe, especially to France and England, where he visited galleries, museums, and artist studios. During these journeys, he began collecting artworks with remarkable taste and vision. He wasn't just buying famous names, he was collecting with purpose. His dream was to one day establish a museum in Japan that would house these works and share the beauty of Western art with his fellow countrymen. The result of his passion was extraordinary. The Matsukata Collection eventually grew to include over 10,000 pieces, ranging from paintings and drawings to prints and sculptures. It featured masterpieces by some of the greatest European artists of all time: Claude Monet, Auguste Rodin, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Paul Cézanne, Vincent van Gogh, Edgar Degas, Camille Pissarro, and Pablo Picasso, among others. Matsukata had a particular admiration for the Impressionists. Their focus on light, color, and everyday life resonated deeply with him. Among the collection's gems are Monet's Water Lilies and Renoir's L'Horloge, both celebrated works that capture the poetic spirit of 19th-century France. Matsukata also formed a strong friendship with the sculptor Auguste Rodin, acquiring many of his works, including casts of The Thinker and The Gates of Hell, which would later become central icons of the museum. However, history was not kind to Matsukata's dream. The Great Depression and the Second World War struck devastating blows to his fortune and his vision. Many of the artworks he had collected were stored in France and became inaccessible due to financial troubles and wartime restrictions. After his death in 1950, a large portion of his collection remained in France under government custody. Then, in a remarkable gesture of peace and cultural friendship, the French government decided in 1959 to return a portion of the collection to Japan. This act symbolized reconciliation and mutual respect between the two nations after the war. These returned artworks became the cornerstone of the newly established National Museum of Western Art in Tokyo. The museum's founding principle was clear: to make Matsukata's dream come true by creating a space where the Japanese public could experience Western art in all its glory. To this day, the Matsukata Collection remains the soul of the museum. It represents not only the beauty of the artworks themselves, but also the ideals of understanding, exchange, and cultural unity that transcend borders. Each piece in the collection has a story, a journey from the studios of Europe to the heart of Japan. When visitors walk through the galleries, they are not just looking at art. They are witnessing the legacy of one man's lifelong dream, preserved through history and shared across generations. Even now, the Matsukata Collection continues to grow. The museum adds new works that align with Matsukata's vision, ensuring that the spirit of discovery and dialogue between East and West remains alive. In the calm light of the museum's galleries, surrounded by paintings and sculptures that once crossed oceans and wars, the Matsukata Collection stands as a symbol of hope, a reminder that art endures, that beauty connects us, and that a single dream can inspire a bridge between cultures for centuries to come. Walking through the galleries of the National Museum of Western Art is like stepping into the pages of art history itself. Every wall, every frame, and every sculpture tells a story of genius, passion, and the evolution of human imagination over centuries. The museum's collection spans more than 500 years of Western art, from the early Renaissance to the dawn of modernism, capturing the essence of European creativity through its most iconic masters. The journey begins with the Renaissance, the period when art and science were reborn across Europe. In these early galleries, you can find paintings that reveal the meticulous craftsmanship and deep spirituality of the era. Artists sought to represent divine beauty in human form with mathematical precision and harmony. These works lay the foundation for everything that followed. They are windows into the roots of Western artistic tradition. As visitors move forward, the story shifts into the Baroque and Rococo periods, where light, drama, and emotion take center stage. Here, paintings are filled with movement, color, and theatrical intensity. The brushwork becomes more expressive, the subjects more human and dynamic. These works reflect a time when art became a mirror of human experience, both sacred and worldly. Then, as the path continues, the galleries open up into the 19th century, where the heartbeat of modern art begins. This is where the museum's collection shines brightest. The walls come alive with the shimmering light of Impressionism, one of the most beloved movements in the history of art. Here you'll find masterpieces by Claude Monet, whose landscapes and water lilies capture fleeting moments of light and atmosphere with poetic beauty. His brushstrokes dissolve forms into color, creating scenes that feel alive, like breathing reflections of nature itself. Nearby, Pierrot Renoir brings warmth and tenderness to his portraits and scenes of Parisian life, celebrating the joy of human connection. The museum's collection also includes works by Camille Pissarro, whose soft tones and gentle compositions depict rural life with compassion, and Edgar Degas, who mastered the portrayal of movement, especially in his ballet dancers and everyday moments. Then comes the boldness of Vincent van Gogh, whose vibrant colors and swirling energy burst from the canvas with emotional intensity. His works are not just paintings. They are windows into the soul of an artist who saw the world in waves of feeling and fire. Standing before a Van Gogh painting in this museum, you can feel his spirit, restless, passionate, and profoundly human. From there, visitors encounter Paul Cézanne, whose structured brushwork and geometric forms laid the foundation for modern art, and Pablo Picasso, who broke all traditions and redefined what art could be. Together, their works mark the turning point from classical representation to abstract vision, a shift that forever changed the way we understand creativity. But the National Museum of Western Art is not only about paintings, its collection of sculptures is equally extraordinary. The centerpiece of this collection is the work of Auguste Rodin, whose creations capture raw emotion and physical intensity. Among the most famous are The Thinker, The Burghers of Calais, and The Gates of Hell, all of which stand as timeless symbols of the human condition. Each sculpture by Rodin seems alive, muscles tense, faces expressive, bodies caught between motion and stillness. His works are not simply representations of people. They are embodiments of struggle, thought, and passion. To walk among them in the museum's galleries and gardens is to stand face to face with the essence of humanity itself. Beyond the great names, the museum also showcases works by many other European artists, each contributing a piece to the vast mosaic of Western art, from delicate prints and sketches to monumental canvases. Every artwork offers a unique glimpse into the minds and emotions of those who shaped the artistic world we know today. Together, these masterpieces form a bridge between centuries, a dialogue that connects Renaissance devotion, Impressionist light, and modernist freedom. They remind us that art is not bound by time or geography. It evolves, it speaks, and it invites each of us to see the world through new eyes. In the quiet halls of the National Museum of Western Art, surrounded by these works of genius, you don't just observe history, you feel it. You walk alongside the artists, see what they saw, and for a moment, share in their eternal pursuit of beauty, truth, and expression. Among the many treasures of the National Museum of Western Art, one space holds a particularly powerful and emotional presence, the Rodin Gallery. This gallery, both inside the museum and extending into the open-air sculpture garden, celebrates the genius of the French sculptor Auguste Rodin, whose work forever changed the language of sculpture and the way we understand the human form. As visitors approach the museum from Ueno Park, the first thing that often catches their eye is a familiar figure, a man seated, his body tense, his hands supporting his chin, in deep thought. This is the thinker, Rodin's most iconic work and one of the most recognized sculptures in the world, placed prominently outside the museum's entrance. The thinker greets every visitor, almost as if inviting them to pause, reflect, and prepare their minds for the journey through art that awaits within. The placement of the thinker is no coincidence. Rodin believed that thought and creation were inseparable, that art begins in contemplation. Le Corbusier and the museum's curators positioned it here intentionally, symbolizing the act of reflection that art inspires, the same reflection that Kajiro Matsukata sought to share with his people. The Rodin Gallery's connection to Matsukata is deeply personal. During his travels to France, Matsukata met Auguste Rodin and was profoundly moved by his sculptures. He saw, in Rodin's work, a raw honesty, an ability to capture human emotion in its purest form. Matsukata admired not just the physical power of Rodin's figures, but the psychological depth they conveyed. This admiration led him to acquire several of Rodin's most important works directly from the artist's studio, forming one of the earliest and most significant Rodin collections outside of Europe. Inside the Rodin Gallery, the atmosphere changes, the lighting softens, the air feels still, and the room becomes a quiet sanctuary of form and emotion. Here, the bronze figures stand in dynamic poses, muscles flexed, hands reaching, faces twisted in thought, despair, or determination. They are not perfect, idealized bodies, but real, living souls, frozen in time. Rodin's sculptures seem to breathe. They capture the moment between motion and stillness, between pain and beauty. Among the highlights is the Burghers of Calais, a deeply moving sculpture that depicts 6 citizens of Calais during the 100 Years' War, who offered themselves as hostages to save their city. Rodin portrayed them not as heroes, but as human beings weighed down by fear, duty, and dignity. Standing before it, you can feel their silent courage and the emotional gravity of sacrifice. Another masterpiece on display is The Gates of Hell, Rodin's monumental work inspired by Dante's Inferno. The massive bronze doorway is covered in hundreds of intricate figures, twisting, reaching, falling, representing the souls of the damned. From this single work emerged many of Rodin's most famous sculptures, including the thinker itself, which originally sat above the gates, contemplating the fate of humankind. Outside the main building, the museum's open-air sculpture garden continues the Rodin experience. Here, under the open sky, visitors can see how light transforms these bronze figures throughout the day. From the soft golden glow of morning to the deep shadows of evening, the natural surroundings of Ueno Park add another layer of serenity and reflection, creating a perfect harmony between art and nature. The Rodin Gallery is not just an exhibition space, it is a dialogue between Japan and France, between artist and admirer, between the tangible and the spiritual. Every sculpture tells a story not just of form, but of feeling. It reveals the inner world of Rodin's genius and the deep respect Matsukata had for him. Standing among these masterpieces, you can sense the timeless connection between the past and the present. Rodin's works remind us of our shared humanity, of thought, struggle, and emotion that transcend borders and centuries. In this quiet space, surrounded by bronze and silence, you realize what the National Museum of Western Art truly represents, a place where art speaks, a universal language, the language of the human heart. Beyond its permanent collection, the National Museum of Western Art is alive, with movement, constantly evolving through special exhibitions, educational programs, and cultural events that connect the past to the present and inspire new generations of art lovers. From its very beginning, the museum was not meant to be a static repository of masterpieces. It was designed to be a living institution, a place where art continues to grow, ideas continue to evolve, and people continue to learn. Each year, the museum organizes a wide range of temporary exhibitions, bringing together works from leading museums and private collections around the world. These exhibitions cover diverse themes, from the great masters of the Renaissance and Impressionism to modern movements like Cubism, Surrealism, and Expressionism. The placement of the thinker is no coincidence. Rodin believed that thought and creation were inseparable, that art begins in contemplation. Le Corbusier and the museum's curators positioned it here intentionally, symbolizing the act of reflection that art inspires, the same reflection that Kajiro Matsukata sought to share with his people. The Rodin Gallery's connection to Matsukata is deeply personal. During his travels to France, Matsukata met Auguste Rodin and was profoundly moved by his sculptures. He saw, in Rodin's work, a raw honesty, an ability to capture human emotion in its purest form. Matsukata admired not just the physical power of Rodin's figures, but the psychological depth they conveyed. This admiration led him to acquire several of Rodin's most important works directly from the artist's studio, forming one of the earliest and most significant Rodin collections outside of Europe. Inside the Rodin Gallery, the atmosphere changes, the lighting softens, the air feels still, and the room becomes a quiet sanctuary of form and emotion. Here, the bronze figures stand in dynamic poses, muscles flexed, hands reaching, faces twisted in thought, despair, or determination. They are not perfect, idealized bodies, but real, living souls, frozen in time. Rodin's sculptures seem to breathe. They capture the moment between motion and stillness, between pain and beauty. Among the highlights is the Burghers of Calais, a deeply moving sculpture that depicts 6 citizens of Calais during the 100 Years' War, who offered themselves as hostages to save their city. Rodin portrayed them not as heroes, but as human beings weighed down by fear, duty, and dignity. Standing before it, you can feel their silent courage and the emotional gravity of sacrifice. Another masterpiece on display is The Gates of Hell, Rodin's monumental work inspired by Dante's Inferno. The massive bronze doorway is covered in hundreds of intricate figures, twisting, reaching, falling, representing the souls of the damned. From this single work emerged many of Rodin's most famous sculptures, including the Thinker itself, which originally sat above the gates, contemplating the fate of humankind. Outside the main building, the museum's open-air sculpture garden continues the Rodin experience. Here, under the open sky, visitors can see how light transforms these bronze figures throughout the day. From the soft golden glow of morning to the deep shadows of evening, the natural surroundings of Ueno Park add another layer of serenity and reflection, creating a perfect harmony between art and nature. The Rodin Gallery is not just an exhibition space, it is a dialogue between Japan and France, between artist and admirer, between the tangible and the spiritual. Every sculpture tells a story not just of form, but of feeling. It reveals the inner world of Rodin's genius and the deep respect Matsukata had for him. Standing among these masterpieces, you can sense the timeless connection between the past and the present. Rodin's works remind us of our shared humanity, of thought, struggle, and emotion that transcend borders and centuries. In this quiet space, surrounded by bronze and silence, you realize what the National Museum of Western Art truly represents, a place where art speaks, a universal language, the language of the human heart. Beyond its permanent collection, the National Museum of Western Art is alive, with movement, constantly evolving through special exhibitions, educational programs, and cultural events that connect the past to the present and inspire new generations of art lovers. From its very beginning, the museum was not meant to be a static repository of masterpieces. It was designed to be a living institution, a place where art continues to grow, ideas continue to evolve, and people continue to learn. Each year, the museum organizes a wide range of temporary exhibitions, bringing together works from leading museums and private collections around the world. These exhibitions cover diverse themes, from the great masters of the Renaissance and Impressionism to modern movements like Cubism, Surrealism, and Expressionism. As the journey through the National Museum of Western Art comes to an end, one cannot help but feel a deep sense of wonder, not just for the masterpieces displayed within its walls, but for the vision and humanity that brought them here. This museum stands as a bridge between worlds, between Japan and the West, between past and future, between tradition and innovation. Every corner of this museum whispers a story. The vision of Kojiro Matsukata, who dreamed of sharing the beauty of Western art with the people of Japan. The genius of Le Corbusier, whose architecture transformed concrete and light into poetry. The timeless works of Rodin, Monet, Van Gogh, Renoir, and countless others, whose art continues to speak across centuries and cultures. Together, they form a living dialogue, one that reminds us that art knows no boundaries. When you walk through its halls, you're not just seeing paintings and sculptures, you're witnessing the journey of ideas. You feel the pulse of human creativity, the longing to understand beauty, the struggle to capture emotion, and the eternal drive to create meaning in the world. Each brushstroke, each curve of marble, each play of light and shadow reflects a piece of our shared human story. Outside, as you step back into Ueno Park, the sound of birds, the rustling of trees, and the distant hum of Tokyo remind you how seamlessly the museum blends into life. The calm of the park and the quiet dignity of the building reflect the balance that defines Japanese culture, the harmony between nature and art, stillness and expression, learning and contemplation. Over the decades, the National Museum of Western Art has become more than a building. It is a symbol of friendship and cultural exchange, a testament to the idea that understanding and appreciation can cross oceans and generations. Through wars, rebuilding, and modernization, it has stood firm, a beacon of creativity, resilience, and hope. And even today, as technology reshapes how we see the world, the museum continues to evolve. Its mission remains the same: to inspire, to educate, and to connect people through art. It reminds us that beauty is timeless, that knowledge is universal, and that imagination is what truly unites us all. So, whether you are an artist, a traveler, or simply a lover of beauty, the National Museum of Western Art invites you to pause, to look, to listen, and to feel. Because within these walls, every painting, every sculpture, and every shadow is part of a larger story, the story of humanity itself. This is not just a museum. It is a meeting place of minds, a sanctuary for the soul, and a celebration of the endless power of art. The National Museum of Western Art, where history breathes and imagination lives forever.